Hello, I'm Matt Gillard, and welcome to another edition of Capital Corner, your weekly news and views about early childhood issues, brought to you right here from your state capital in Lansing. Well, there's been a lot going on this last week or two around early childhood issues, and certainly the budget process continues to unfold as well. So we have lots to talk about today. We'll get right into it. As I mentioned, the budget process continues to move along. The legislature is on a fast track again this year and have made public commitments that they hope to have the budget completely wrapped up by June 1st. Which is a speedy timeline, but there's no reason to expect that they won't have that done this year. It's especially important, I think, for the House as they head into an election year and the election season is fast approaching, that they want to get the budget done so they can get back to their districts and campaign, those that are running again for re-election. So on the budget front, there's not a whole lot to report on early childhood. The committees continue to have hearings on different budget aspects, and we haven't seen any concrete plans or anything come out of the legislature yet, but the process continues to move along. On a couple of early childhood-related items, though, there was some movement here in the last couple of weeks. The autism bills that I know a number of you are following did move out of the Senate. They first moved out of committee and then moved off the Senate floor. These are bills that would create a tax credit for private insurers to cover autism-related practices or coverage. Fairly controversial bills. There's a number of folks that are advocating for a true mental health parity bill to be included with as a part of this package. Most other states have already passed a mental health parity, which requires private insurers to cover a variety or all mental health disorders, not just autism. And so that's been a lot of the debate, is whether we should just be singling out the autism coverage or we should really be moving towards a mental health parity issue. And there's been a lot of discussion in the media, and I'm sure in your local communities as well, about that. And I look for that discussion to continue as these bills now move to the House. They did move through the Senate, but the process now will start again in the House. And I look to have, I expect a much more deliberative and lengthy discussion in the House over these bills. And hopefully that parity issue continues to be brought up and people to continue to talk about it. On another note, the Senate Education Policy Committee just yesterday, as a matter of fact, passed out the kindergarten eligibility date change bills. This is Senate Bill 315 and 316. This would phase in over a 3-year period a change in the kindergarten eligibility age. Currently, you have to be 5 by December 1st to enroll in kindergarten programs in Michigan. This would phase in to September 1st over a 3-year period, 1 month at a time. So next year, if these bills were to pass, a child would have to be 5 by November 1st. The following year, October 1st, and then the following year and thereafter, September 1st, would be the cutoff date for kindergarten eligibility. This is a very controversial issue, with most of the local school districts being opposed, because this would mean fewer kids coming in for these next 3 years as this is phased in, and that therefore means a financial hit to these local schools because they get fewer foundation allowances from the state because they have fewer kids. From an early childhood standpoint, this is a tricky issue. I think from a policy-wise, this isn't something that you necessarily would support. We constantly advocate and try to get access to quality programs for kids at a younger age, and this would make kids have to be older, essentially, to enter kindergarten. That said, there is significant cost savings to the state if they do implement this legislation, and what we've seen happen in other states and what the call is currently amongst many of the legislators who are supporting this legislation is for that savings to be directed into much-needed increases in early childhood programs, namely the Great Start Readiness Program, even with a percentage set-aside for 0 to 3 programming. So this is an interesting issue to follow. The bill did pass out of committee yesterday with 3 yes votes, 1 pass, and 1 no vote, and now is referred to the full House floor. This debate will certainly get more interesting as it goes along. There's a number of issues involved, as I mentioned. There was originally included in the bill a waiver process for local districts to allow parents to waive into kindergarten, essentially, their children. That aspect of the bill was taken out in committee yesterday. It's another controversial measure. And we are talking about significant savings and potential significant new revenues for early childhood programs, namely the Great Start Readiness programs. The estimates are $50 million for next year alone, just from moving the date 1 month, would be available to the state to invest in some other programs. And so this is something we'll continue to update you on as it moves through. Thank you for joining us, and please tune in again next week for another edition of Capital Corner.